What is up, guys? Today I'm doing another deck profile, this time of probably the most hyped deck in Brilliant Strike, which is the Genesis Minerva deck. This deck is hyped for very good reasons. Minerva is definitely a meta changer and is probably the best card of the set. Much better than anything else, and it's the restanding Vanguard of the set. So obviously, there's a lot of hype attached to it, and it's fairly easy to do. It's restanding cost, so that's why I guess it's so good. So regardless, without further ado, here it is. To start off, we have 4 of the ace of the deck, which is 4 of just Minervas. I'm not going to go through the Goddess of Wisdom or the Goddess of whatever. It's too much to remember. I'll just straight up say 4 Minervas. Her ability is, for the cost of 1 Counter Blast, Soul Blast 3, and the discard of 3 cards, is that after this card attacks, you can discard 3 Genesis cards from your hand, and she restands with an extra 5k. Now, what's really good about her, like I said before, is if you know Genesis, soul charging is all they do. So for a cost, which in other clans like Narukami or even Kagero, a Soul Blast of 3 is really big. But for Genesis, which most of the cards Soul Blast, and most of the cards' effects happen when they're Soul Blasting, this effect is insane. And virtually you'll be able to do it every single turn. And it's only 1 Counter Blast. So it's very good, very consistent, and very aggressive. So that's why it's very good. Minerva's second effect is that when Angelica, the Goddess Regalia Angelica girl, is in the soul, she gets an extra 2k, which helps for having a 13k body against rear guards or going up against other cross rides. Also, just by having the effect of restanding with 5k means that it's extra, like it's more for your opponent to guard against it, which is very big because with Novo Vague decks out there and most cross ride decks, it's very hard to hit them. Just because, to hit them twice, because you don't want to use the booster on the first attack, but then you sort of have to because it's a cross ride. When you attack with the restander, like, Raging Form, or, well, not Raging Form per se, but Descendant, or when you break ride over Dauntless, you maybe want to not use the booster. But for this, you definitely want to use the booster because she's going to get a 5k boost after she restands. So that's very, very important. The break ride of the deck, which makes Minerva get the extra 2k body, 13k body, but extra 2k, is Angelica. Her break ride skill is that when a Genesis unit rides on top of her, obviously for the cost of Soul Blast 3, the unit gets 10k and you get to draw through 2 cards, which is very good. Draw power in Vanguard is not like Pokemon or other TCG card games. It's very difficult to draw like 5 cards a turn, unless you have Raging Form and hit draw triggers, but you still have to give up something. For this break ride, just drawing 2 cards, it's a +2, helps you like refill your hand, and it's just very good. Also, it helps with Minerva's limit break of the cost, which is discarding 3. So when you have 2 cards in your hand, it gives you more options to discard and just more options to place rear guards on the field. So that's what's really good. The cross break ride of this deck is a very threatening combination. Not as threatening as a lot of the other combinations like Raging Form and Mordred, but it's still really good and really threatening. Just because you can essentially like have it to only discard 1 to restand if you cross break ride. So that's what's very good. It's very efficient. On to the grade 2s. We start off with 4. I don't know how to quite say this. Of the Witch Chamomile, Witch of the Apple, or Witch of the Raven, I forgot. Chamomile. When she gets Soul Blasted, when she gets sent from the drop zone, when she gets sent from the soul to the drop zone, you get a Counter Blast 1, and then you get to Superior Color on the field. Now what's good about her is that it doesn't say Superior Color to an open rear guard, So you can do combos where you attack with with a column, with the rearguard column before you attack with Minerva, and you gotta actually call, superior call her over another of your grade 2s, which can be very good. But also, like, let's say you're low on cards and you want to get an extra attack in, but you don't want to waste hand. Chamomile's right there in the soul to help you out. So she definitely helps the deck get extra card advantage by being able to superior call when she gets soul blasted, which would happen either from the Break Rider Angelica or Minerva's Limit Break. So you'll definitely be able to soul blast her fairly easily. And not only that, but like I said, just helps out. She's a great ride target. I mean, when you're grade 2, you ride her, that's another way of making sure she gets into the soul. So you definitely want 4 of her. It's another form of superior call, and get generating card advantage, which is very important in any deck in Vanguard. Next we run 4 of the Grappas. Grappa's ability is that when she gets soul blasted from the soul, well, sent to the drop zone from the soul, I'm just going to say soul blasted because it's easier, you get to then soul charge 2. Now if you know anything about Genesis, like I told you, they tend to use the soul a lot and they want to soul blast. So let's say for some apocalyptic reason that there isn't enough soul and you want to soul blast with the Break Ride, but there's not enough in the soul for Angelica, you just soul blast a Grappa or 2 and you can essentially get 4 more. If it's 2, if it's 1, you get an extra 1 in the soul for soul blasting her. So it makes the deck more consistent and more heavily able to use its resources from the soul. And just it's a good, it helps the deck run very well as a machine. Because she'll help get you either more Grappas or a Chamomile or the grade 1, which is Melissa, which are Raven. So you definitely want to run 4 Grappas. Next, to round out the grade 2s, which rounds out at 11, is 3 of the 12k attacker. It's just the Goddess Jupiter. It's a simple 12k attacker when you have a Regalia unit. 12k attackers are good. It helps you hit cross rides, and it also helps you for early game to hit cards for magic numbers. Although there really isn't a grade 1 or 2 Regalia yet, so it's only grade 3. But still, Jupiter is fine. Like I said, helps you hit cross rides and helps you get magic numbers. Like I said, so you definitely want to run 3 of her. On to the grade 1s. We'll start out with 4 Cumins, Witch of Cumins, I believe. Her ability is when she is placed on the rearguard circle, you get a soul charge 1. That's it. The reason why I have her is because you want to soul charge as much as possible, and she'll help you get Grappa, Chamomile, and Melissa into the soul. And she's very easy to use her effect, you just have to call her out. So that's why you want to use her, and she works as a Vanguard or as a rearguard. So early game soul charging is very good. Later game it's very easy to soul charge, but early game it's sort of difficult. So that's why we have 4 of the Witch of Cats Cumin. On to our next grade 1 is 4 Melissas, which of either apples or ravens. Melissa has the same effect as Chamomile. You just counterblast 1, and you get to when she gets soul blasted, superior call her. So, like I said before, if you have a good combo is when you have Chamomile and Melissa, and you don't want to waste a your hand. You can just attack with Minerva first, and then when she restands, you soul blast 3, and then bam, another 16k column comes, because Chamomile is 9k and Melissa is 7k. So it's a 16k column which hits most bodies pretty well, unless they're already cross-worded, but still that's fine. That's a +2, and you're using it as a cost for Minerva's effect. So it just really makes the deck run well, these witches that superior call from the soul. So that's why we run 4 of her. And even then it helps you save on generate card advantage, which is, like I said before, is very, very helpful. Next we have 2 Ordain Owls. Ordain Owl's effect is like a lot of the effects of the one for Jewel Knights, well, the one for Ashley and the one for Ganslot Zenith. is a her effect is, well, it's not her, it's an owl. The owl's effect is that when you have a Regalia Grade 3 Regalia unit in the drop zone, you get to take it, put it on the bottom of your deck, and your Vanguard gets 5k. The reason we have her is just to give Minerva even more attack. Like, let's say you have to straight up ride her and not break ride with her. She doesn't generate high numbers on her own, so what the Ordain Owl will do is give her like extra power. If you have 1 or 2 or 3 Regalia units, which is very possible with this deck, since you get to choose what decks go to the what cards go to the drop zone, because you choose which cards to Soul Blast. You can therefore choose, okay, I want to gain, like in the future, I want to gain an extra 5k, so I'll drop the Grade 3. So that's why it's very easy to use, and it's probably the easiest one to use out of all the Grade 1, special boosters like that. But also what's good is that if you notice with this deck, by soul charging a lot and by restanding Minerva a lot, you tend to deck out quite a lot. Especially if you run draw triggers and quintet walls, which if you run quintet walls, good luck for you, because you're just probably going to deck out. I mean, straight up. Just the way soul charging and restanding, it's just too much. So when it's late game, you can actually use the Ordain Owls to make sure you don't deck out, which is very, very, very important. Because decking out's sad. It just kills you. And not only that, but the Ordain Owl is an axe skill, so you can legitimately put 2 or 3 of your Regalia, Grade 3 Regalias on the bottom of your deck, just to help you save for that extra turn, so you don't deck out. And also, like, let's say you have a Minerva as a rear guard, or Angelica as a rear guard, you get to power that up as well. So it's very important. So that's very good. And to round out the Sentinels, I'm not even going to play with you. There's no Cider in this deck, so we don't run quintet walls, just for the simple fact that it's not even that this deck is counterblast heavy, because it's not. Everything uses 1 counterblast, but it's just decking out. You'll deck out a lot, and from play testing it, I just really believe that 4 perfect guards is the way to go. Maybe you can run 1 just for the Daikaiser deck matchup you'll be facing, but really you're gonna deck out if you use it. So 4 perfect guard Sentinels. I might get scrutiny for this, but you really don't want to use quintet walls in this deck. That's 14 grade 1s if you count it correctly. So onto the grade 0s, which the starter is, okay, let me see if I pronounce this right. Amenohoakari? Amenohoakari? Okay. Her effect is that when she boosts a grade 3 Genesis Regalia unit, or just Genesis unit, you get a soul charge extra. Now, if you noticed, the break ride, when she attacks, she soul charges to get an extra 1k. So then, from then on, you'll be able to soul charge 2 instead of 1. So I'm not the starter. I can't even say the name anymore. The starter will just help you soul charge, and it'll stay on the field, which is very good. And it's 5k booster, which is fine. Genesis's starters aren't very good. But this one is the one that I see that's the most consistent and the most card advantage friendly, which I prefer in this deck. So that's why we have it. Extra soul charging, which is always good. For the trigger lineup, we have 4 heals because, like I said, you want to heal at 6 or heal in general. Healing is such a big shifter, so you definitely want to be able to heal. And this might be funny, and you might be crazy for this, but 12 crits. So that's 5, 10, 12. 12 crits. You need to run 12 crits because this deck draws, this deck generally has a high card advantage just because of the break ride. The break ride allows you to draw 2 cards, which is very big. And not only that, but the Chamomiles and the Raven, the Chamomile and the Melissa helps you generate card advantage. And when you play this deck, if you run even 4 draw triggers, you're gonna really deck out, like, quickly. Because of with Cumin you soul charge, with Grappa when it's soul blast you soul charge. You soul charge so much in this deck that you really don't need the draw triggers. Most of the card advantages come from being in the soul, So you really, like I said, you don't need to have that huge of a hand, because firstly, you're probably gonna, in general, because of Chamomile and Melissa, and secondly, the Minerva doesn't really generate crits herself, so you want to make sure that when you attack with her, she has a crit on her. And the good thing is that when she attacks the first time, she keeps the crit. It's not like Raging Form, where you have to Superior Persona right. No, she really keeps the crit, and she gets stronger. So that's why you want to have 12 crits. If you feel like doing 10 crits, 2 draws, I can't blame you. But just having the ability of 12 crits is very important, and it actually works really, really well. If you just test it out. So again, I'm not going to say this enough, it's going to be Grand Blue, 12 crits, and it'll definitely work. Thank you guys for watching the video, I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe, and let me know what other card Vanguard deck you want me to do. It really doesn't matter, I can do it. So, thank you guys, and take care.